Reaching the top 10% of net worth sounds like an impossible dream. For most people, it's a goal that gets filed away under maybe in another life. We assume it's reserved for the genius, the lucky, or those who were born into it. But what if I told you that being in the top 10% looks a lot less like a Hollywood movie and a lot more like your own neighborhood? In fact, you might be closer to the line than you realize. Today, we're breaking down the actual numbers, the hidden assets, and the one mistake that stops 90% of people from ever getting there. 1. The real number. Most people check out the moment they hear the price of admission. According to recent data, to crack the top 10% of households in the US, you need a net worth of roughly $1.8 million. On the surface, that number is intimidating. It sounds like a mountain of cash sitting in a bank vault. But that's the first big misunderstanding. Net worth isn't liquidity. It's not how much you have to spend today. It's the total value of everything you own minus everything you owe. When you factor in home equity, retirement accounts, and small business interests, that $1.8 million starts to look very different. If you walked through a standard upper middle class neighborhood, 1 out of every 10 houses would likely meet this threshold. There are no gold gates or supercars in the driveway, just quiet, consistent wealth.
2. Where the wealth is hidden.
So where is that money actually hiding? It's usually spread across 3 main pillars. First, there's home equity. Many of these households aren't living in mansions. They simply bought a home years ago in a solid area, paid down the mortgage, and let the market do the work. A typical household might have $500,000 to $800,000 tied up in their primary residence alone. Second, there are retirement accounts. This isn't the result of a lucky stock pick. It's the result of 20 or 30 years of consistent contributions to a 401k or an IRA. Finally, there are flexible assets, things like savings, brokerage accounts, or perhaps a small side business. When you add it all up, nearly half of that millionaire net worth is often locked in a house. This explains why many in the top 10% don't actually feel rich. They aren't living a lavish lifestyle. They're simply standing on a very stable foundation.
3. The individual versus the household. Here is a detail most people miss. That $1.8 million figure is for a household. In the US and UK, the average household is about 2 to 3 people. If you're looking at this as an individual, the math changes. While there's no official individual cutoff, a safe estimate is to cut that number in half. Having a net worth of $900,000 as a single person effectively puts you in that elite 10% bracket. Suddenly, the mountain doesn't look quite so tall. 4. The secret to getting there. If the top 10% isn't about being a genius, how do people get there? It's not about making 10 perfect decisions. It's about avoiding the one decision that ruins everything. Reaching this level of wealth is a game of consistency. Small mistakes are fine. You can buy a car you can't afford, make a bad investment, or lose a job, and you can still recover. The people who fail to reach the top 10% are usually taken out by financial landmines. These are the life-altering setbacks, a messy, unhedged divorce, taking on massive debt to fund a failing business, or lifestyle creep, where every pay raise is immediately swallowed by a bigger mortgage and a flashier car. Wealth at this level isn't built by swinging for home runs. It's built by staying in the game long enough for compounding to take over. 5. Beyond the number. At the end of the day, net worth is just a snapshot in time. It doesn't tell you how stable someone's life actually is. The real sign of financial health isn't a specific number on a spreadsheet, it's resilience. Ask yourself, if your car broke down today, is it a crisis or just an inconvenience? If you lost your job tomorrow, would you be panicking, or would you have the margin to breathe and plan your next move? True wealth is the ability to say no to overtime and yes to a career change without fear. When you focus on building that margin and keeping your expenses under control, the big numbers and that top 10% status usually follow as a side effect.
Don't get discouraged by a number without context. Whether you're at $10,000 or $1 million, the goal is the same: building a life that feels lighter and more secure. Smash the like button if you learned something new today, and subscribe so you don't miss our next breakdown